You're welcome to the Vibes and Inshallah show today on Elegbete TV Radio. I am Hadassa Ajayi. And this conversation today is really juicy. I'm really excited for this one. And as always, I won't be doing it alone because as a broadcaster, my lecturer in school would say that you should have a little bit of knowledge about everything, but it's not quite possible that I will know everything about everything, if you know what I mean. And that is why I like to have experts who are, they're quite knowledgeable in this field so that they are adding to the knowledge that I have and everybody's learning something from it. So, except you've been living under a rock, again, I feel like I use that phrase a lot. Except you've been living under a rock, then you do know that there's this interview that everybody was seeing on the internet with Banky W, Adesua Wellington Itomi, and Adesua Itomi Wellington, and Ebuka, where Banky W touched on his relationship with Wizkid, EME and all of that. And so it's brought to my knowledge that a lot of artists or upcoming artists or people who have dreams of making it big in the industry really don't know how the industry can be. And something I've learned from watching a lot of interviews is that a lot of artists who are producers, who not just producers but just artists, have come out to actually talk about the industry and the business side of it and how it's not always glamorous. People see the lights, camera and action. They see you with all of the young women hanging on your arms, the flashy life, the cars and everything, and they don't know that it's so much more than that. Now, for new artists looking to break out in the industry, a bad music contract can be the end of your career even before it begins. And that is why you need to be very careful when presented with the contracts by a label and management, because at the end of the day, your contracts might be more in their favor than yours. So, contracts. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a lowly radio TV presenter. So I have with me here an expert who we're going to be dissecting this entire conversation together, Emmanuel. And this one, y'all know I like to give you backstory. So Emmanuel and I have known each other for a while. We got to know each other through a friend. And when I was trying to figure out the right person to have this conversation with me, I called Okpeyemi, who is our mutual friend. I was like, Okpeyemi, I need an entertainment lawyer. Who am I going to talk to? And Okpeyemi was like, like Emmanuel. I'm like, wait, what? Hello? Hello? Emmanuel, I need you on the show like ASAP, like yesterday. And here you are. Hi, Emmanuel. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing, bro?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for...
You've been very good.
Thank you. And you're not looking bad either. Thank you so much for coming today and taking the time out to be here. This conversation is quite important for upcoming artists or just artists that are yet to sign to a record label so that they make the right decisions concerning that. Now, I'm very particular and passionate about this because I also sometimes have upcoming artists on my show. I do something where we have creators, upcoming artists on the show where we play their songs and all of that. A lot of them are not even signed to any record label yet. Some of them are still very independent and pushing themselves and all of that. So this is really important. We know a lot of artists that we have seen them fight legal battles with their management, record label, be embroiled in like the worst court battles that drag on forever and play out so messily in the media. International artists like Megan Thee Stallion versus 15 and 1 Certified Entertainment, Frank Ocean versus Def Jam, Michael Jackson versus Sony, Prince versus Warner Bros, Dr. Dre versus Death Row Records, and even Backstreet Boys versus Jive Zomba Recording Corporation. And I went further to search. Nigerian artists that have had issues with their labels include Kiss Daniel, now known as Kiss Daniel, versus G Worldwide. And that was, the change of name was actually because of the battle he had with his record label. We have Brimo versus Chocolate City. In fact, everybody's favorite, Asha versus Question Mark Records, which is not in existence anymore. Kelly Ansom versus Kenny's Music, Rugged Man versus Little Fish, Vector versus YSG, Runtown versus Eric Mani Records, and finally, the reason we decided to have this conversation, Wizkid and EME. I could go on and on and on and on. When I was researching the list, plenty die.
Absolutely.
Like a lot of people that you would not expect. So it's brought out a lot of burning question. And number one is, what are the kind of contracts an artist should sign that would help them have a successful career?
Okay. Usually when we look at the music industry generally, it's a mixture of those who are in business and those who have talent and passion, basically.
Yes.
And usually it's a big industry. The music, the entertainment industry generally, it's a huge industry. So 2021, it contributed over 4% to the Nigerian GDP. So even artists is basically signing a contract. One thing they should know that the fact that they are signing that contract means that they are getting into a business relationship with the label or any other counterparty, and they should approach it as such. That they're going into business. It means that they have to look out for themselves with regards to financials, with regards to the money they'll be getting, with regards to ownership of their work, their creative work.
Yeah, I'll be circling back to that.
Yeah. So that is what artists should be looking out for generally. And that's what those clauses are actually contained in that contract.
Okay.
Right? So if we're looking at the Nigerian music industry, or if an artist is looking at signing a contract, they should be aware now that they are going into a business relationship, and they should begin in that sense now to approach that situation as such, as business, not necessarily then getting an avenue now to pursue their passion alone. Yes.
Okay. Speaking on that, you brought up trademark. What should a new artist know about trademark, trademarking their name? What else should they be trademarking? What should they know in general about trademark?
Okay. So if we're looking at the music industry, we have an interplay of intellectual property rights, right? The music itself is intellectual property. The performance of their songs now is also intellectual property. The videos they create is intellectual property. Their name also, their stage name, is also intellectual property. And they're usually protected under different categories. One of them is trademark. We're looking at trademark. Trademark basically is that area of intellectual property that deals with names, logo, slogans, in some sense. So they have to also take steps to protect that name. Generally in music contracts, especially in when you just get a boilerplate contract, what artists do is that they basically sign off their names to their label to be able to trade with, right? So for instance, Cynthia Morgan, the Cynthia Morgan issue with a former record label.
Yes.
He essentially signed off a name to the label. The same thing with Keith Daniel too.
Yes.
It's an issue of trademark because he had to basically register and protect his name Keys. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
From
that
Keys
idiot.
to
Yes.
Keys,
Yes.
So one thing artists should be looking out for is that they have to be very careful in contract not to sign off or transfer ownership of their name or their stage name to the record label.
Yeah.
So that's what, in essence, how it plays out in the music industry.
Okay,
so it also applies to familiar slogans.
Oh, okay.
Right? For instance, I don't know if it's trademark, but the popular one that we're hearing, Zazu, and all.
Yes.
It could also be a trademark, right? It could, and to properly protect it, it has to be registered with the trademarks registry to be able to take advantage of that. So I think those are things that actually comes under trademark generally. So that's what it means.
Okay.
In a broad sense.
You are listening to Elegbete TV Radio.